in the moment, if we can tap in, we will remember who we are. Having just a little bit of awareness for moms, for parents, that we are souls, that we are eternal part and parcels of divinity.
If you find yourself feeling anxious and living in your head, you are going to love this episode of the Soul Care Mom podcast. Today, my guest is Jaishree Dow-Spielman, a homeschooling mom and soulprenuer. We dive into how you can start living in the flow and practice radical vulnerability. This conversation might just transform the way you approach motherhood and life. Hi there, Soulful Mama. Welcome to the Soul Care Mom podcast. I'm Catherine Wilde of soulcaremom.com. I'm a mom of 3 amazing kids, a soul care mom coach, and a yoga and meditation teacher. I've helped hundreds of women, and I'm here to help you feel calm and find your unshakable confidence as a mom. If you're ready to stop living in survival mode and you're ready to drop the mom guilt and overwhelm, this podcast is for you. Think of this as a lunch date with a girlfriend. Grab a cup of tea and get cozy. It's time to get honest and vulnerable and shift the traditional mindset around motherhood. Be sure to subscribe to be the first to know when new episodes are released. Get ready to grow and feel empowered as a mom. I'm here for you, Mama. Let's get started. Hi, Jaishree. I'm so excited to have you here.
Hi, Catherine. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be with you.
I am excited to talk with you because you've been on quite a journey. You were a mom, you're an entrepreneur. I love that you use the term soulpreneur. And I'm really excited to dive into all the things with you. You've shared a little bit of your journey with me. You've built successful careers. You've done international travel. You're a teacher. You're a homeschooling parent. You've navigated chronic pain. Would you share a little bit more about your journey with us?
Thank you for reflecting back to me and to your audience, the journey that, of course, we're all really going on together, individually and collectively. I'm really lucky. I'm really blessed. I became a mom on my 41st birthday, basically. And it's really amazing because becoming a mother is something we do both with a physical child, of course, but as I learned early on, you don't have to have a physical child to mother, yes. And it's really the innate goddess energy. No matter our religion, creed, culture, wherever you're from, there's the divine feminine, there's the divine masculine, and there's the dance. So I was born with chronic pain. It's true. I think most humans are, because we are born and we come into this world. And we all know from what we've been experiencing the past few years how difficult and challenging that incarnation, that embodiment can be. But it's also quite blissful. And so navigating pain, as you mentioned, was a big part of my journey. And there's that divine feminine bliss factor, we call it, or creation, and the yin yielding to what life brings and going with the ebb and the flow. And then there's that side of us that some of us have in very variegated ways, but we would call it the male energy or the yang energy. And I have a lot of that. I have a lot of Mars in my chart, a lot of Dynas, like war energy, actually, which it sounds very intense to say, but just to match the language to the landscape, mixing that yin and yang, that male and female, produced a lot of work. It really did. It produced a lot of expansion of my own artistry or Shakti, connection, studying psychology and ethos and morality and religions. All these things came together in actually being an actor and in being a friend and being all these things. But I was very focused on sharing, and it was always coming from a spiritual landscape or a spiritual need. And I worked and shared and did all that, even though I kept falling, and even though I kept, experiencing pain over and over and over again, which actually was my greatest gift, right? The gift is usually the hardest part. So my superpower, one of them, is pain, or navigating pain and finding my way out of pain from both sides. And that is a very interesting conversation. And that's why I created a yoga school, so I could dive deeper and share more, and why I mentor, and hopefully am giving to my daughter now in life and homeschooling.
You're so right. So much the gift comes from those struggles, right? When we can see how it's working for us, what there's so much growth that can happen when we let go of the resistance to that expansion that you're talking about. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yes, resistance. Resistance is what they call the first level of all the hard work, the shadow work. The resistance is what comes up in relationships. And where that comes from is another story, talking about, though, what we go through as moms. I think right now on the planet, trauma is really big, and talking about it from a generational or, standpoint, which is, of course, something my husband and I are very much into and into working on, so that we can up level, so we can pivot. And understanding what generational trauma means, that's quite a beautiful spectrum, because you have, epidemiology or genetics, and then you also have some scars, or karma, as we would say in yoga world. And that's a both and world.
And I love that you brought up relationships. So as a homeschooling mom, as a business owner, can you share a little bit about cultivating a really strong partnership, relationship, family, just as a whole? What are your tips that you can share with us there?
Oh, I'd love to. Well, it's funny, my husband and I are leading a new workshop that's not really a new workshop. It is, but it's sharing the same eternal sources of wisdom, right? Whether they come from the Vedas or the Bible or the various places that we find these gems, these allegories, these amazing divine wisdom pieces. I would say that the most important part of any relationship, specifically of partnerships, but it's the same with whether you're in a partnership with your husband, wife, partner, child, whoever it is, business partner, is the pivot. And by that, I mean, we call it in the first level of soul mapping, the grounding phase, the commitment, the realm of commitment, which really just means the awareness in that moment of, okay, here I am, I'm triggered. It's going to come up over and over. The where that comes from is a whole other story. And the healing of that is actually another story and level, but I'm in it, in this nexus now moment. So how am I going to pivot? And that's the hardest part, even though it's the first level. It's something we call core desire, or like pivoting to positivity. What does that mean, right? And how do you do that? That's a lot of work, actually, to get to that place. But that is the what of it. I'm in awareness, I'm triggered. How am I going to pivot to what I really want, which is to say who I really am? And from there, I can make a choice. Some would say pause, reflect, and then move. But this is like, who am I as a soul? Who am I? It's not just manifestation. It's not just abundance. That's a part of it, but it's really my core desire is my absolute understanding of who I am, and to come back to that over and over and over again.
Yes. Yeah. So many of our triggers, our emotions, all those things that come up are really trying to help guide us back to our center, right? Back home to ourselves. So I love that you said that. And awareness is definitely the first step, right? Once we become aware, we can start to play with things. We can start to find ourselves again.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that.
Oh, of course. And, you know, that aspect of us that is in relationship to ourselves, the actual falling in love with ourselves. I always say falling in love with ourselves. My first book, which was a while ago, it was a more of a workbook in a way to help, start that process. It's fall in love with yourself for real and forever. And then the world will come back like it did the past 3 years, and it will give us a load of programming, narrative, confusion, pain, all of it will swivel and swirl in it. And then we'll have to find the pivot. It's like the earth wobbles, right? It actually rotates and wobbles. If we could actually feel that, that would explain 2020 and 2021. And now we're in 2022. So where that pivot is, that relationship starts with falling in love with ourselves and then coming back to reinvent ourselves. And as moms, we're given that every day. We're literally given it every day. But I also love, what my teachers told me is mothering is something we do with everyone. It is the nurturing, giving spirit, and I know you're supporting so many moms by your beautiful vibration. That's what I experienced from you and what so many people will say. It's that vibration and it's that eternal mother that is inside of you, that is inside of us. So thank you for that.
Thank you for saying that. That makes my heart so happy. It brings me back to where you were talking about the feminine and masculine and how the dance of that. I think that's such a beautiful way to put that because both energies are really beautiful. And we all have both of those in us, right? That you were speaking of the masculine and how that brings about action and moving forward and growth and expansion. And then there's also the beautiful part about the being. And I found that coming more into my feminine has helped me a lot in really connecting with myself. But that the masculine side also helps me to take action, to move forward to. So I love that you shared that. Do you have any tips on how women can tap into this dance for themselves?
It makes me cry a little bit to think of women being ever in competition. I hear that so much because my work is not in business per se. I do coach and mentor and have for now 15 years. And I did it through hands-on teaching yoga classes, traveling the world through kirtan. Some of it's for free, some of it's paid, various ways of working and manifesting, and taking fortune from whoever wants to give mercy in that way. So there are many tools that help us integrate the divine masculine and the divine feminine. And the reason I brought up the competition is truly because whatever we're experiencing in a moment of trigger or pain or portal, we can never go wrong if we have the wisdom of the sages to remind us that we're all feminine and that we're all souls. And that if masculine energy is more about creation, I actually, like the Vedas actually say this, the Shaktiman is like more of the divine you could call it creation, you could call it maintenance, or you could call it destruction, right? That the three different aspects of God, of generator, operator, destroyer. And then you could take the feminine and say, oh yeah, that's Kali, Lakshmi, and Radha, or you could, shift it in many ways. And you could say, oh, that's Shiva, Brahma, and Krishna. You could come at it from so many different ways. But there is no competition within the soul except to be with the divine more and more, or to be with your beloved more and more.
And that's also what it sounds to me like, the living from a place of lack and fear and scarcity versus understanding that there is more than enough, that we're all connected through love, and that you're right, there's no competition. We're all inspired by each other. We all can grow together.
That's the new earth.
Yeah.
I hope so, because that was beautiful. Yes. I mean, this time has been hard. It has been challenging. The unfortunate, you could call it inverted energy of all that's good and awesome in life gets out of alignment and too great. And then it becomes what? Like power, lust, anger, envy, greed, all these same words for the same thing, which is ultimately the desire to take as opposed to the desire to give. Mothering is always giving, and fathering is always giving. And so that energy that you speak to so beautifully of knowing how to work with the two, that we call sometimes duality, but really it's the dance. It's the dance. There are many, mantras, there are many ways of being, but it's the one that is like that DNA strand of love, of the sweetest dance of love. That's the one that I'm the most attracted to. And so that's where I set my sights, and what comes from there, we share.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that comes back so beautifully to what you said before about coming home to yourself and finding who you are, right? I think when you connect with that place, you don't see the world from this take place, like you see what you're speaking of. And I think all of this just fits so beautifully together. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Of course. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to share it.
So one thing that I love about your energy, your business, I feel like we're kindred spirits here in this. And so I love that you use the term soulpreneur, first of all, and leading your business from this soulful, loving place. And you speak about radical vulnerability. So can you share what is radical vulnerability? Why is it important?
I love radical vulnerability. Radical vulnerability speaks to the experience of feeling, ultimately, and what we were speaking of, understanding that the thinking mind is only super useful when it's connected higher to its intelligence and to the subtle energy body, which is feeling. Radical vulnerability means I'm not going to take for granted anything. For me in this moment, this is what it means. I am going to truly express all of the colors of my chakra wheel and all of the colors of the rainbow. Now, not, there are 8 billion people on the planet, right? That's like wild. So we're not all going to vibrate like you and I are, or like everyone we want to vibrate with. We're going to bump up against things. So radical vulnerability probably comes from having migraines and being in pain so much that if I don't take the mercy that's coming, I'm just going to be like in this horrible physical and psychic battle. And that happens in parenthood as well. So we talk about what is repeatable, relatable, and reliable. That's what we always say with the soul mapping, like it's repeatable, relatable, and reliable. And it really is. It's turning trauma into drama. I let it be lighter, and it's practicing accessing who we truly are and then pivoting in the moment from that place.
That's beautiful. And so you've mentioned soul mapping. Can you share what that is?
Of course. So soul mapping is the channeled, name that came through for the process of teaching and serving and sharing. So when 2020 came, my husband and I had, Narayani was 2, my daughter. We had opened a brick and mortar yoga studio 3 months before she came through, before she was conceived. And so we had that studio for 2 years, and we had already graduated like 6 yoga certification programs and had led like 8 retreats to India. And then there was Costa Rica and other places. And we were just serving, singing kirtan, because we're both musicians, with any and everyone who was coming through town, and hosting and all that. And there was this point where it was obvious that things were going to close down. Now, I don't know about you, but one of the big pieces of work of soul mapping is connecting to women and men and understanding that they're already psychic. Mm-hmm. That this idea of this bare bones, third dimensional world is not the only timeline. And by that, it's not woo-woo. It's very simple. We have earth, water, fire, air, we have the earth's core and crust, and then we have space. And space and ether gets thinner and thinner. And that means that it's clearer and clearer in regards to frequency and vibration, right? So if you're from the sciences, you talk about radio waves and, EMFs and all those things. But inside of us, we have a subtle energetic body, right? We have meridian points in Chinese, Ayurveda systems, Chinese medicine, we call it, blood, bones, guts in the physical sense, and our meridians and chakra systems and energy portals. So there's inside and outside, and then there's what's out in the world. And soul mapping is the process of relating those various timelines into one place. So everyone sees, hears, and feels differently. I don't know how do you see, right? Do you see, do you hear? Do you see grids of things or whatever it is? We all work in a certain way. So technical people, systematic engineer types, mathematicals, they work in a certain way, maybe more left brain. Creatives work maybe more right brain. So the work that I do is to organize that and to connect with someone about where their blocks are, which most coaches and most mentors do, but take it to the next step. Okay, what are the healing medicine tools? What are the modalities? Who is your team? What are your rituals? And then to remind them of their absolute radiance and abundance all the time. There are various ways to do this, but ultimately it's always going to get to the same goal. How are you going to serve? How are you going to share it? How are you going to repeat it? Beautiful. And so that's soul mapping in a nutshell.
Oh, I love that. So a couple of things that came up for me when you were talking is how everybody sees the world. And that's such a neat thing that we all do see things from these different perspectives, because that's how we create together, right? That's so beautiful.
Absolutely.
And that's such an amazing process that you take people through and guide people through. And I love that you remind people of their radiance, because we don't hear it enough. We get so spread thin, so far from that message, that we need that reminder.
We do.
Mm-hmm. And so something we had talked about before was this idea of living in the flow, living from this flow state. Can you share with us what that means to you, and if there's a mom listening right now, what can she do to start living from that place of more ease and flow in her life?
In the moment, if we can tap in, we will remember who we are. Having just a little bit of awareness for moms, for parents, that we are souls, that we are eternal part and parcels of divinity, will anchor us back in to our highest vibration, because there are many versions of us. And I don't mean in some weird, strange way. I just mean even in our thoughts, but certainly in our generations of trials and tribulations to get to something beautiful. Even the energetic imprint is there, that we are inherently made of bliss. So remembering that in the moment, and going through the triggers and the portals, and maybe having a guide. It might be you, it might be me. There's many guides. It could be listening to something that makes you feel amazing. We call that part of our team and our tools also. Coming back, doing something, committing to remembering who you are as a divine soul that is always connected, always linked. And if we can get there, we can pivot, we can be abundant, we can call it in.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I like to change the background on my phone with different reminders.
Yeah.
And the one
I
right
love
now.
that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Because I need them. I need to hear it. I need to see it.
We need all of it. We need all the things. And especially parents, and all these ideas of grace, of forgiveness, of mercy. These are especially important for moms and dads. And what we're finding from supporting community for many years, and from pivoting and moving and doing the thing during the thing, it was very challenging. And I would say we're not the same people. My husband and I, in 10 years, we just kept moving forward and creating and vibing and growing and sharing. But, he went in a financial executive direction for a few years, even though he was a teacher, even though he worked with children on the spectrum. He ended up building companies. And in that experience, it got very ugly, and it got very cold, and it got really hard. And so I had to come up and meet that, and he had to come up and meet it. And having a strong psychic awareness, being able to shield energetically without, I always say being an a-hole. Sorry, but basically that's it. Basically being able to expand our energetic power without taking, but just being and giving. That is a beautiful expression of parenthood. And if we can do that in business, that's, my husband takes on more of the men and the business and the clarity. I like working with men too, always have. And then working with women on, whatever the self-sabotage is and whatever we keep doing to ourselves over and over again, all of that does come together in understanding our bliss factor. Yeah. It really does. And it's a beautiful thing. And it's also painful, and it's also ugly. And that's radical vulnerability. Mm-hmm. It's radical to be a pioneer and do the new thing. It's not as radical to stay in the same thing and be miserable, because that energy is going to go down. But you can stay in the same relationship. You just have to go up. You got to do the new thing, right? So we do that with our kids every day, and we can do it with each other.
And that's our soul calling, right? When we're feeling miserable, it's saying something's off there. We need to make a change. We need to pivot. I love that word that you used. And
100%. Yeah,
yeah. And I
it's
think that
beautiful.
leads us really well into um, one of my favorite topics, which is self-care.
Mm,
Because we so often, which all of this really ties together, that, saying, who am I, following your bliss, everything that you're saying. And I
mm.
like to call it soul care. But it gets
And it
put on the
is.
back burner for us, right? And but the practice of prioritizing yourself, your soul, your needs, it transforms, at least for me, it's transformed the way I show up in everything, as a mom, as a partner, as a
Mm,
friend, in my
mm.
professional life. So, can
Oh,
you share what role self care has played in your life? What are some of the ways you like to nourish your soul?
I love that you call it soul care. And I was very attracted to that and happy because we're all on that, you know, level of connecting to the soul. And you speak so beautifully about it. Self-care is really not a luxury, is it? And we've started talking about it as radical self-care and soul mapping because it seems like the narrative about parenting and motherhood is sacrifice or self-sacrifice. I remember a beautiful mom coming to my yoga studio. It's called Sanctuary. Um, and were having a party. I don't remember. It was, I had all these booths, and maybe it was a 1 year anniversary. And I had a girlfriend doing massage, and she brought her son and husband and other son, and she wanted her son to get a massage. And something happened where uh, the provider did not feel comfortable working on the child because she was really young, and she was she was making sure she was covering her bases. Anyway, I said to the mom, why don't you take that spot that he signed up for? And she said, oh, I would never do that. I would never take a spot for my son. And this is when I was pregnant, really pregnant. And I remember saying, I just was breathing for her, always just like, okay. But we are told to put on our, air mask first, and then on a child when it's really necessary to wear that oxygen mask. And there's a reason for that.
Do you feel overwhelmed and anxious? Do you wish you could stop losing your temper with your kids and just have more fun as a mom? Do you crave finding more time to do the things you love without feeling guilty? I get it, Mama. I've been there. That's why I created the Vibrant Mom Life membership. Imagine what life would look like if you could finally get out of survival mode, consistently find time for yourself, and be the calm, present mom you've always wanted to be. This membership will help you step out of anxiety and overwhelm and help you find time for yourself without the guilt. Inside Vibrant Mom Life, you'll find monthly themes that will help you shift your mindset, get out of survival mode, and find time for the things you love, all while being the mom you want to be. Plus, you'll find guided meditations and yoga practices that will help you effortlessly infuse your days with self-care. And I know that some days are harder than others, so you'll even find a library of short and sweet guided affirmations so you can simply press play and reconnect with your inner calm in just minutes. Join Vibrant Mom Life today by going to soulcaremom.com/membership so you can stop running on empty and truly enjoy mom life. I can't wait to welcome you inside, Mama.
There is definitely a connection to the baby boomer. They call it generation of self-sacrifice, where my mom, I have 6 parents. I'm very lucky. My husband has 4. So there's a lot of work with generations and mothers, and really going deep into that psychic knowing of, wow, this is coming from somewhere really far away. Or, some traumas you can see and some you can't. So the soul care is vital, and the self-care, there are so many avenues we could go, but it still will always come back to the same points of wisdom: nature, cycles, health, right? These are the same wisdom properties and medicine tools that sages and saints have spoken of and that the Vedas have spoken of forever. And by Vedas, I mean all the ancient texts. So what do you think? I don't think it's a luxury anymore. And I also think the past 3 years created such a huge program, so much indiscriminate lumping together of our bodies, of our minds, and telling us the one way to do something. That was always silly. That was never true.
Yeah.
That has been going on for a long time. If you look, historically, it's like, oh, this again. And that's why I wrote Soul Ascension. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it yet, but I'll send it. But it's my second book, and it was a free book. And I wrote it on January 1st of 2020. And I was like, get this out. Check, read like from a psychic view, because there are many masters and people who saw the pandemic coming and saw a bigger perspective of what it would be. And it was like, okay, let's just be on the same page. We have the power inside of us. We can rearrange our own health with our minds and our medicine tools and our self-care. So, I think we're just beginning again, like every day. We're beginning again, but it's radically necessary at this point to take care of ourselves.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I agree. So many of the things you said, but I love that you had that even before giving birth to your daughter. You had that understanding that you could see in that other mom that she needed to care for herself, and that you went into your motherhood path as with your daughter, with that understanding, with that wisdom. That's so, so beautiful. I wish I had that when I first started. So yeah.
But you're getting it, you're learning it, and you're integrating it, and you're sharing it now.
And that's something to remember too, that it's never perfect. Like you said, it's this dance that we're always healing those traumas. We're always figuring things out. And so if there's somebody listening and is like, I don't have that yet. It's okay.
Oh, it's so okay.
Yeah.
It's so okay. It's like we are all in this together for real. And some of us on earth will have an experience like Narayani's birth experience was, we like to call it a drama, but it was, quite an extensive trauma, actually, that I had to spend the first 4 months of her life going through medical records and dealing with. And it was really intense. So I was really lucky to have even with all my wisdom and all the no, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you. It doesn't matter when you get to that place of birth. Wow, we could talk about that so much, because there is something that happens where there's this mix, this dance of who wants to take care of you, but they're only at the level of their qualification at the same time. And the reason I'm saying this is because that is really where we're always at. And if we come the way you speak, from a place of love and intentionality, there's nothing fluff about saying this. That is truly the divine path, to truly hone in on where we are coming from. And that takes some work. So if your listeners are inspired, that's all we can do, is to inspire everyone to do, a little more research into this or this history or this spiritual path or yoga or self-care or, whatever wisdom tradition. We're always students, and we're always nurturing, and we're always finding our way back. It's a remembering process.
Yes, we're always students. I think that's a really beautiful perspective to take on life. So I'm so grateful for everything you've shared. And I would love to ask, you have been on this incredible journey. You have just had these amazing experiences, ups and downs, healing the trauma. If you could go back in time and share with your younger self all that you know now, what would you tell her?
That's part of the work always, isn't it? I would go back and I would say, wait and wade through the pain, even when it seems like nothing is moving, because there's a divine providence waiting for you. I would say that.
That's poetic. Oh, so beautiful.
I would say that in this moment.
I think that's a message that so many of us need to hear, no matter what we're going through. That's so beautiful and powerful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Wait and wade.
Wait and wade. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom with us. Can you let us know where we can find you online?
Yes, you can find everything at jaishreeyoga.com, just like my name is spelled, Jaishree yoga.com. And you'll find the soul mapping matrix there, along with our upcoming workshops. So we're really excited to share those.
Perfect. I will include the links in the show notes so everybody can find you. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Catherine. It was such a beautiful connection, and all blessings to you and to your audience.
Thank you. To you too. Thanks for joining me, Mama. I'm over here smiling from ear to ear and giving you a big virtual hug. I love spending this time with you. You are amazing for showing up and carving out this space to nourish your soul. If you are loving the Soul Care Mom podcast, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. And if you are ready to start your mornings feeling calm and energized, get the Kickstart Your Calm Morning Guide, a self-care morning ritual for moms, as a free gift when you join the Soul Care Mom community. Head over to soulcaremom.com/kickstart and enter your email address to get your free gift and start feeling like a calm mom today. Sending you so much love, Mama.